This is your host, Patrick Allman from Stop Doing Nothing, and we are going to talk about what I think might be the most perfect business model I've ever seen, consisting of multiple components, multiple legs. And many of you have one of these legs, if not two of these legs. I am in a constant struggle to build all of these legs. And by constant struggle, I mean I get how to do it. It is just, man, I am time limited and resource limited. No matter how many people I work with and no matter how many hours in the day, there is just never, ever, ever enough time to get everything done. I am going to be that guy that dies with a to-do list right in my hand as they put me in the ground. But hey, you know what? The whole point of goals half the time is not to necessarily accomplish them, but to give us a direction. So I'm perfectly okay with dying with a big to-do list, but that doesn't dissuade me from working on the goal. Feel free to share it if you want as we kind of run through this list of, again, what I consider to be the perfect business model. And I put that in capitals even because I think it might be something I could, trademark later. I don't know. I would like some feedback about which of these different steps in building the perfect business model you've accomplished, which ones that you're working on, which ones you'd like more information on. I'm always looking to get really good people either to interview or to do the videos and the podcast with me, things like that. And so I would love your feedback, especially those of you who have had really good success in one particular area or other. And if you are on your phone and you don't have a lot of area to comment, well then right down there, you can text numbers to us and they'll show right here on my computer screen, to tell you the truth. They'll show right there on the computer screen and they'll show in the app on my phone. So feel free to text your questions right there. Don't have the ability to call in and connect you to the show yet. So if you call in, I'm going to ignore your calls for the time being. Okay, let's get through this. Just so you know, I have a technology background. My world comes from, the world of mainframes and servers and databases and all this stuff. And one of the things I've always really liked about that world before I got into marketing is it gave me the perspective of how powerful it is to have data. To have data about people, to have data about their activities, to have data about their wants, their needs, their desires, all these things. When you can collect information about people, and I know this sounds kind of creepy, but I promise it's not. But when you can collect information about people's wants, needs, desires, where they've been, where they are right now, and where they want to go, you have a very powerful platform. And by platform, I mean you have the ability to, whether it's stuff like apparel or marketing messages or paid marketing, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, Twitter ads, YouTube video ads, search engine marketing, email sequences, all that stuff. When you have really good information about your prospects, your current clients, and your future clients, the world is basically your oyster. And as people hire us to help them with their world, their infrastructure, one of the things I've noticed is that the people that have the most data, we are able to help the most, and the ones that are willing to let us collect more data, allow us to do more for their prospects. So that is what is going to be the overall arching theme as I run through some bullet points I've got for you here today. It's the importance of knowing your prospects and collecting data about them. As you know, I'm big into marketing CRMs. I'm a big fan of, marketing automation CRMs, that's what I meant to say. And, we're big on, I'm working through some different clients right now on the concept of segmenting and tagging people. And man, that is some fun project, let me tell you. So the first thing I'd say when it comes to building the perfect business model right now, not right now, it's always been the case, is the concept of branding. And not just branding you here in the simple sense of logos and colors and themes and font styles, Branding as in saying the same stuff and offering the same consistent solution over and over to different groups of people. Now, I'm not going to harp on the branding too much because you probably get that from a lot of Facebook ads. If you follow Patrick, you follow several other internet marketers, and we just beat that concept of branding, down your throat. But it's just a reminder that if you have a really strong brand and the message and how you say you help people, even in the branding someplace, if you say it as who you help, the people that say, really good branding even comes down to like the catchphrases that you use, and you'll see these sometimes in people's like Facebook profiles, like I help I help people realize their dreams. I make unlimited income. To me, that's a very weak branding statement, if you will. That's pretty much all of us in the world of coaching and service provider businesses. But in your branding, if you say stuff, like I help female entrepreneurs break the $10,000 a month barrier by showing them how to monetize their knowledge 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, by using A, B, and C tactics, then that's a little bit more precise. And so branding, I just want to remind you that branding also involves kind of locking down your niche and your avatar, because that will determine your messaging right there. And if you haven't done that, as always, please run through that exercise. If you want some resources on how to do that, message me here on Facebook or text me at the number right there. See, can I do this right? 405-217-4752. You gotta love technology right there. So if you ever want some resources on branding or maybe locking down your customer avatar to help determine your targeting, message me and I'll see what I can do in terms of getting you resources on that, because that is such a key part of business right there. So that to me is part of the perfect business model. I've actually got 5 things right down here. So branding is the first one. The second part of what I would consider a perfect business model is having, to me, a relatively high ticket offer. Now, to some people, high ticket is over $100. To some, it's over $1,000. To some, it's over $5,000, and to some, it's over $10,000. When I say big money here, I am going to kind of focus on anything over $1,000, because for most small to medium businesses, that's a large influx of cash all at once, is anything over $1,000. And the reason I say this is because startup businesses and kind of intermediate businesses, oftentimes, not 100% of the time, but oftentimes they have their products and services focus on the sub 1,000. So if you've got someone who's got, a one-off service or a one-off course for $49 or for $47, even for $97, $1,000 purchase is a big deal. Someone buying 10 licenses or someone buying one thing for $1,000 is a big deal to kind of an entrepreneur or a mid-sized business. And again, your prices may vary. If you're selling things for $1 or $2, it's going to be very hard for you to make $1,000. But to me, when I say big ticket or big money, I'm focusing on anything $1,000 and up. I love, and I do have offerings myself over $5,000 and $10,000, but for most people I help, the $1,000 up thing is a big deal to them. So make sure if you're going to build a perfect business model, you have something in your hip pocket that somebody can give you $1,000 for. And what it may be is just a combination of combining a bunch of smaller things into $1,000 offering. So if you offer 4 or 5 different things, for $97, if you will, maybe combine those into a high package value item and sell that particular product for $1,000. One of the things that makes it really easy to get from like a low and medium ticket offering to a higher ticket offering is just bundling. It's just bundling. You don't have to come up with anything new. And some of you are in this situation. If you have several low-end courses, well, heck, bundle that all up into one package and take the additional, take the price of all those things individual, if you will, and obviously add those, but then maybe bump up the price a little bit because and throw in some more value there, so it makes sense for someone rather than someone buying 5 things from you for $1. It makes sense for them to spend not $1 from 5 things from you from $100. It makes sense for them to spend the $600 or $700 to get those 5 things plus a bunch of other stuff. And you've seen this in other people's pricing before, and it's something you should definitely be doing, is bundling what you have, bundling the individual pieces of what you sell sometimes into bigger package offerings, because they are worth more than just the individual pieces all added together. The value of your knowledge, the value of your products, the value of your services when you bundle them together, are worth more than the individual pieces. And for those of you who've bought stuff online, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, first I talked about the branding, and then I talked about kind of a big money ticket item. And for the purposes of this conversation, for big money, I'm referring to anything over $1,000. Now, the third part of this perfect business model, in my opinion, is having a smaller ticket item, but having it be a recurring income type of model. If you've followed and listened to various gurus like I have, and people even sometimes call me a guru, I'm not sure if I should be insulted or impressed when people say that. But you see all these different business models. You see the high ticket people business models, which I'm a fan of all of those people, and I'm jealous of some of those people. But you also see people who have huge membership sites, and that's their only product. They have a $37 membership site or a $97 membership site, and they've got 1,000, 5,000 members in there, and that'll get you a good cup of coffee if you ask me. And so I think it's important that in addition to having kind of a higher ticket item, that you have a little bit of a lower ticket recurring income type of item. And to me, that's good because it first of all, it provides a good basis for your monthly expenses and a good basis for you to provide value. It lets people come in, the lower end of your funnel while not spending too much money. And let's say for the purposes of this, we're going to talk about $97 a month. So $97 a month, someone can buy into your world, and that's not that big of an expense for them. $1,200 a year is not a terribly, terribly big expense. $1,200 minus 3 times 12, so minus 36. You can do the math right there. So it's not a terribly big expense, so people don't have to think about it. So it makes it a pretty easy choice. It forces you to make sure you have value on a regular basis, but it also keeps them inside of your world and gives you a reason to communicate with them on a regular basis. When people are paying $97 a month, they're going to expect to hear from you on a regular basis. They're going to expect value, and so this kind of forces you to make sure that core monthly package is, has a lot to it. It also allows you to, as you get a little bit bigger, let's say $97 a month. Let's say at $97 a month, you get 10 clients, 20, 30, 40, 50. So after, let's say 50, you are probably not going to notice the addition or the removal of a client that much. You will notice it a little bit. But where this really comes in handy is if you take all those numbers and you multiply them times 100. So, as you're starting up a business like an entrepreneur or kind of someone just above an entrepreneur, as you gain and remove clients, you feel that monthly impact. If let's say you have $97 a month, and with every client you're cheering and it's a big deal, and you're desperately trying to hold on to that client. And whenever you lose someone, it's a big deal, and it can affect your ego, and it can actually affect your bottom line somewhat. So my goal here, when I think about the perfect business model and a recurring income type product, is to get that part of the business to the point where, number one, it's a good basis to settle the entire business on. But number two, to get to the point where your income isn't so reliant on the addition of additional clients. Your business doesn't fail with the removal of a monthly recurring client, and your business doesn't dramatically skyrocket with the addition of a new one. And again, this only happens when you've got that recurring income up to a certain level. And like to me, it's 10 isn't quite it, 20 isn't quite it, 50, not 50, recurring monthly clients I would feel very comfortable with. And then obviously, if you can get to 100 or 500 or 1,000, that would be awesome. Because then as those new people come on board, they're important, but they don't affect your business that much. So it's almost like dividing up your risk. And I'll give you a good example of this. Is I have a spreadsheet of all of my recurring clients, and I tend to have a higher end recurring business model, if you will. And what I do is I keep track of what percentage that client is of my total income. And I'm always trying to reduce the risk in my business by making sure that each client is a smaller and smaller percentage of my income. I think in terms of percentages, income as percentages, expenses, growth. I try to think of all that stuff as percentages. So I have like an income sheet, and I will list like my higher end clients, and then I have a column that shows them as the percentage of a total. And I can tell you, my higher risk clients, hey, Yoram, good to see you, man. My higher risk clients are the ones that I have to pay close attention to, that I have to make sure that they're constantly happy, because if they leave me, then that's going to be a little bit painful, right there. So try to always look in terms, when you're looking at your monthly business, whether it's income or expenses, try to always look at it in terms of the whole, if you will. It's the percentage of the whole. Getting a $1,000 or a $2,000 or a $5,000 a month client is nice, but just make sure that as you get those higher end clients and more and more of your income is at risk there, that you mitigate that risk. And you see this a lot with businesses who go into business, they build their backs, they build their entire income basis on a single large client. And let me know if you've ever heard of this, where someone has a single large client, and let's say it's something god awful like $50,000, $100,000 a month client, and they are riding high, and they got so used to that income that they didn't work on the marketing. They didn't do that. All of a sudden, that big giant client goes away, and their income is drastically affected, and they totally go out of business. And I've always decided, because I've been in that situation in the past, not gone out of business, but the risk of having all of that income on one client. So for those of you, again, who are in the entrepreneur phase, who are in the kind of mid upper phase, make sure that you split up your revenue. Yeah, Lord Yoram, actually, I'll get this right here. Got it. Add to broadcast. Yoram, very good. I've seen companies close because they had 60% of the revenue come from one client. That's painful, man. 60%. I've heard of things like 90 and 100%. I mean, that is just. But I've been there. I remember when I first went into business, and this is true for a lot of people. You're not making a mistake by doing this in the beginning, but the goal is to get away from this as soon as possible. So that's the one advice I could give you. Let's see what else Yoram put up here, because he's a smart guy. As a client, you don't want your provider to count on you for more than 10% of their revenue. That's a good point also. So looking at it from the client side, you don't want to be the highest risk to them, because if you go out and they go out of business, that's kind of a big thing on your back. So very good point right there. But get this back up here by Yoram, because I want you guys to see this right here. He knows what I'm talking about. Where was I doing? I was talking about, okay. So when you first go into business, oftentimes it's not uncommon to have 100% of your income on there. And that's how I went into business. I went into business because I had one large client that wanted my products and services. And when you go into business, or someone wants to hire you and basically pull you out of your company, so you become a contractor, that's pretty common. The advice I'm going to give you, though, is make sure that as soon as you are somewhat stable, and by somewhat stable, I'm going to say, please, first 3 to 6 months easily. Within the first 3 to 6 months of when you have a new large client and you're a new entrepreneur, you want to start marketing and getting another client as soon as possible. And it's hard. I'm going to tell you, I know it's hard because you are a solopreneur. Your job is requiring you to work 50, 60 hours a week, but you are really hurting yourself by having one client. You may think that client is your best friend. You may think that client will never go away. It happens. It happens. And there are countless examples of people like that where their business just went belly up because of a single client. So getting back to my original point here, number 3, find a way to get recurring income. Thanks, Yorm, for your information, man. Thanks. Find a way to get small recurring income as much as possible. Like I said, I really feel comfortable after 50 to 100 of a small recurring income. My goal for Stop Doing Nothing is to, and this is going to go in line with number 4, is to get up to something like, I don't know, $97 a month for my basic service offering, for my basic low-end membership, and to get that to anywhere between 1,000 to 5,000 members. At 1,000 members, I'll feel really comfortable. Because then almost some of the marketing also kind of runs on autopilot. Once you have a critical mass of members, maybe it's 100 or 500, people start referring you, and some of the marketing starts taking on a life of its own, which is another goal of mine for my own business and for my clients, is to make the marketing kind of a self-sustaining thing, if you will. I mean, that's just really important to me. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. Okay, something else to me that would be part of a perfect business model if you're a service provider or you're someone who helps people accomplish something, goal setting, weight loss, all stuff like that, is the importance of having your own data platform. And what I wrote down here is mobile app. But it doesn't have to be a mobile app. It can be a desktop app. It can be a Mac app. Web-based is the way to go these days. We all know that. But the importance of having a place for you to collect detailed data about your prospects or your customers. And by detailed data, I'm talking about them voluntarily giving up the data. So, I am going to, at some point in time, I've had one in the past, I've just changed business models. I'm going to have a Stop Doing Nothing mobile app where it'll connect back to my CRM, and I'll be able to push information, the right information to the right people, but I'll also collect information from them. So that is just my goal with everything I do. And that's going to help with the ultimate goal I talked about in the beginning, the big goal of collecting data from people as much as possible. And up to me, a mobile app is going to be a huge, huge piece of that. I'm spending a lot of time studying other people's mobile apps and their back ends and the analytics packages that are involved with mobile apps and the behavioral information you get about people. A big thing I want to do with any kind of data collection system is to kind of keep track of how often people use it, because that'll tell me whether or not I am communicating with those people on a regular basis. So let's say I have an app and every day it sends them something, enter in what you ate for the past 24 hours. If I have that app and somebody logs in every 24 hours and they put in the information, I can track the people who are very active, no pun intended for the fitness side, but I can track the people who are using the app a lot versus the people that are using the app very little. And this goes back to the importance of having multiple data collection points, and I'm getting really nerdy here. But if you have, a website and a membership site and a mobile app, and you have them in your marketing CRM, use Entreport. If you have them in your marketing CRM, you have all these different ways for people to interact with you. So oftentimes, you'll hear, well, people don't open up read email anymore. Well, that's somewhat true. So maybe you should be texting those same people. Maybe people don't respond to text or emails. Maybe they'll use your mobile app. And if they're not using your mobile app, well, maybe they'll use your web app. So it's really important to give people different ways to interact inside of your system. Let's see what Yorm said here. Plus, you want to have content that will be applicable to many people and not only one client. Oh, also a very good point, Yorm. Thank you very much, sir. So when I say here the fourth point of having, the fourth point of having a perfect business is a mobile app, don't focus on the actual mobile app. Focus on a platform. It could be a web app, could be a mobile app, it could be any number of things where you are able to push information to people and they're able to sign on. This to me would also count mobile app as a membership site. As you know, all these CRMs these days, they interface with WordPress very well. And with some of my clients, what we do is when people sign on the membership site, I track that. And then I set flags as people don't log in for a week or a month or 90 days. And that gives us kind of a good snapshot of who the active people are, who the inactive people are. So again, don't focus on the mobile app so much. Focus on some kind of platform where you can track people's activities. And not that you can force them to be active, but where you can basically help determine the value you give them by how active they are, if that makes sense. So mobile app, web app, membership site, text messaging, just some way to get where you can, poke them a little bit and they can poke you back and, oh, okay, this 20%, these are my core people, these are the really active people in my community, and then these other 80%, they're not so active. By the way, this is very hard to do on social media. You're watching this in my Facebook group. A lot of you have Facebook groups that are bigger and smaller than mine. That's the line that's towed a lot these days. If you want a community and you want to build engagement, yada, 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 then, create a Facebook group. That's what you need, is a really good Facebook group. It sounds good. It really does. I mean, people are already signed to the Facebook. However, you have no control over that. It'd be one thing if Facebook gave you API access for you to see who the active and inactive people were in the Facebook group, and I hope they do that someday. But speaking as a techie, I'm going to tell you that the Facebook group API does not give you very much information. So you can't download your most active group members. You can't download the group members that are commenting, and sharing on your content. And you can't download the inactive ones. You can't basically get any useful information out of a Facebook group to help you gauge how active your community is and who the hot hitters are in your community. And that sucks, because Facebook groups are just so easy because they're there. People are always sending to Facebook. I mean, I love my Facebook groups. I love you guys watching here. I love creating Facebook communities and helping people build those. I mean, I'm all so down with that. But it's like a black hole of information. And you know what? It's to be expected. You know how I feel about social media. If it's free, if you're on something for free, then guess who's the product? You are the product, my friend. You and I are the product on social media. So they won't want to give up that data. Now, I guarantee you, Facebook is collecting that data. So one of the things I am, again, also trying to push my clients to is to more of a self-hosted platform. I like Tribe for communities. And sometimes we'll kind of maintain a Tribe community in line with a Facebook group. Maybe most of the content's over on Tribe, and then some of it's over on Facebook. Because in Tribe, I can get all the analytic data about the most active people, most active email addresses, etc., etc., etc. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to building the perfect business model is, and this is a maybe, this is the last thing I would consider you to do, which is going to be kind of funny considering what I'm wearing right here, is maybe going back to number one and seeing what else you can do for branding. And that one I said maybe get some apparel. If you've got a brand that has a really good message, this right here, the shirt I'm wearing, starts a lot of conversations, and it has gotten me business. If you have a business that can really do that and do it well, then maybe you should consider doing an apparel brand. And I'm a little bit short on time, so I'll talk more about this later, but let me tell you, in 2020, where are we here? September 14th, 2020, I can get a apparel brand up and running in a week. It is not hard, and that is printing shirts, printing hats, printing coffee cups, selling that stuff, collecting the money and the shipping, and it's almost all on autopilot. It really is. Those of you that know I'm big into the Shopify world. So Shopify plus Printful, man, that is the way to go. So again, for those of you that are kind of tuning in at the end, the big goal for all this stuff is just ways that you can collect more data on your prospects. We talked about branding. We talked about having a big money item, and in this case, over $1,000. Man, if you can hit a product for over $5,000 or $10,000, knock that crap out of the park. Having a little recurring income, whether it's a membership site or something like that, and try to get that over 100 to 500 members as soon as possible to mitigate your monthly income risk. The importance of having a platform, and it could be a mobile app, could be a membership site, but whatever platform you use, you want it to have the ability to log user activity to see who are the active people so you can reward them and gamify them. And then you also want to pay attention to who the inactive people are so you can manage your churn and you can get those people re-engaged when they are not involved. And number 5 is a big maybe, possibly consider having apparel for your brand. Now do me a favor. You've watched all my videos, you've listened to some other stuff. Do me a favor, go over on iTunes and rate the podcast, if you would please. Some of you are listening to this on the podcast, so you can find the Stop Doing Nothing podcast on iTunes. And do me a favor and go over there and leave a rating for it. If you love me, I'd love to hear it, on a 5-star rating. And if you don't love me, you can leave it there, or you can just private message me so I don't get the 1-star comments. You know what? I don't hear from Mr. Jeff very often. Let's see what Jeff has to say. Great list, and everyone can apply immediately. Get your recurring revenue up to snuff, and you're well on your way to being a solid lifestyle business. Man, I don't say it often enough, Jeff. I miss you. You are a brilliant man, and we got to go hang out sometime, my friend. Thank you for chiming in. I really do appreciate you. But anyways, go over to iTunes. Leave a rating there. Go over to YouTube and subscribe, and click on the little bell on YouTube so you get notifications. I'd really appreciate that also. And if you also think this was useful, I'll make sure you go over and you like the Patrick Allman fan page. You're probably connected to the Patrick Allman profile, but make sure you go find the fan page and like that also. So subscribe and leave a rating on iTunes, subscribe on YouTube and get notified there, and subscribe over on the fan page. And of course, I'm all over every place else because I don't know how to shut up. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn on occasion, but just not every single day or every single month because, I don't know, it's not as pretty. LinkedIn is not as pretty. But as always, thank you for watching. I got to go, and this is a first word problem, but I got coaching meetings, and I got to be on TV here shortly via FaceTime. Life is rough as Patrick Allman, let me tell you. As always, thank you for watching. I appreciate you. May your cup of coffee or your cup of tea be very full today. Have a great week, and let's keep kicking ass in 2020. Take care.